It is just a huge honor for me today to be in Melbourne, Australia. I just finished lecturing today, and I drugged this man, Dragan Antolos, back to the hotel room with me and Ryan, because what he showed me today was so amazing. I said, we got to come do a show on this. So Dr. Dragan Antolos graduated as a dentist in 1982 and is a dental practice right here in Melbourne, Australia. His practice addresses all aspects of dental health. However, he has a special interest in orthodontics, especially the effect of thumb sucking on permanent teeth and dental development. Married in 1988, he has 2 daughters, one of whom was a thumb sucker. His frustration at the lack of children's literature addressing this common childhood habit led him to write and illustrate the story of Oliver, the little bear who sucked his thumb. His experiences led him to regard restraining aids and devices as a very last resort, as a means of tackling the thumb-sucking problem, instead adopting positive psychology encouragement to inspire children and turn the solution into a fun and interactive experience using the book and the chart. Having achieved great success and positive feedback from parents of children who are thumb suckers, Dr. Antelos has encouraged to use the same approach to highlight the important issue of child safety and stranger danger. Little Bear Beware is the second book in the Oliver the Bear series, helping to open avenues of communication between children and their parents. Using the character of Oliver the Bear in a series of stories provides continuity and a familiarity that children will enjoy and look forward to, further optimizing the positive messages within the books. I want you to go over the book one. You showed me this, and what you said to me, so he's written 2 amazing books. What he was telling me, well, tell him what you told me about how you looked at the issue of thumb sucking.
Okay, it's an interesting one. My daughter Ellen sucked a thumb when she was born, and kept sucking, after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Didn't think very much of it. Didn't think it was a very common thing for kids to do that, thumb sucking. It became a bit of an issue when she kept sucking when she was 4, 5, 6, and I found it really difficult to get it to stop. And even as a dentist, I felt a bit inadequate. I thought, man, Ellen's my daughter, and I can't get her to stop this habit. And she was getting an open bite, she was getting a tongue thrust, and I just found it a really difficult habit for her to break. It became really entrenched in her, and I was wondering how to best tackle it. And so I was looking into it, and it's such a common problem for a lot of kids who become persistent thumb suckers, And so I looked out into over the net and really couldn't find anything really that I was sort of happy about in terms of how to address this particular problem. So it's funny, my idea of the book came, the way I could best describe it is, I think if you've got a habit, my feeling was that the first step is you have to want to give up the habit. Like if you go to a smoker and say, smoking is really bad, you shouldn't be doing this, you're telling them that, and they go, but man, I'm really enjoying the cigs. They're not gonna stop cigarette smoking because you're told them to stop. But if they come to you and say, I've decided to give up the cigarettes, and it's hard, but that first step really is what you need to do to go forward and actually give up a bad habit. Whether it be drinking, whether it be smoking or anything. And I sort of felt like that was the same with kids. And so how to get the kids to make that first step when really, when you're talking about a 3-year-old to a 6-year-old, how do you communicate at that level with a child and get them to take ownership of this thumb sucking? I thought, how do you do that? And it's funny, I felt like even when the kids got older, my feeling is, how do you tell them to be good kids? Like if I go to my daughter, and I'm sure you had this situation with Ryan, where you sit down and go, well, I don't want you to do this is bad, and I had these experiences and all this sort of thing, and it's like blah 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 blah. They really, it's your dad telling them that, but they tend to be a bit defensive about it. So my strategy was, when we'd go away on trips, the kids would be at the back, I'd be at the front with my wife, and I'd talk about my time at uni or something and say, this particular guy had a really big drinking problem, they used to drive me crazy, or the smoking, I don't like smoking. And I wasn't talking to the kids, I was talking to my wife and relaying the experiences, but I knew they were hearing what I was saying. So I sort of felt like if they could hear what I was saying, but I wasn't directing it at them, I sort of felt like potentially that was going to, a message that was going to sink in without me actually approaching them about it or feeling like I'm going to lecture them about it. So with the thumb sucking, I felt like most kids enjoy storybooks. I certainly did as a child. And I thought, look, if I had a storybook, parents read storybooks to their kids all the time at night. So I thought, well, look, if I write a book and it's more directed at the child, and it's a story about Oliver, who sucks his thumb, finds it hard to give up, doesn't want to give up, and then decides in the end, no, look, I really want to give up my thumb sucking, but finds it very difficult, and eventually he learns how to do it. I think reading a story like that, the kids can relate to that, and it's not directed directly at them. It's an indirect sort of thing, and I felt like that would have more impact. And once the child decides, hey, I want to give up this thumb sucking like Oliver, once they've made that first step, then the parent can implement strategies to help them deal with the thumb sucking once they've actually taken that first step. And I figured, what's the worst that can happen? It's just a good storybook that the kids can read. There's no real side effects. There's no anything crazy, but the child will sort of like hopefully make a decision just like in the book. They can relate to that and then decide to to give up their thumb sucking of their own accord. They make the decision rather than the parent trying to force them to do it and creating stress and anxiety because they're really not wanting to, and they're pulling their thumb out of their mouth and saying you shouldn't do this, and they're scolding them. And I think that type of an approach I felt was a really negative approach, and I felt like something that was more fun and more interactive could not only help the thumb sucking, I think it develops a better bond between the parent and the child, and it makes the whole experience a positive one. And I thought the book was a good way to do that. Yeah.
So you had 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So where did Oliver come from? I thought it'd be Olivia.
No, it's funny. Oliver, the girls had, my girls are so typical girly girls. And, so, they had a lot of soft toys and things like that. And one of the favorite toys of my eldest, who was a thumb sucker, was a little bear that was called Oliver. So I took that bear and I used that as a guide to my sketching, to making Oliver in Illustrator.
And you did all these sketches yourself?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, how long would it take you to read the book, do you think? Well, because where I think this would be valuable is, I don't know how you want to do this, but, there's, on Dental Town, there's like 4,000 pediatric dentists. We have Ortho Town, there's like 10,000 orthodontists, and I really like this concept. There might be a lot of pediatric dentists who might want to buy this and hold this and sell it to patients. And it's right now. Are you going to put it on Amazon? Do you have a?
Yeah, look, I've got to find the best way to get it out there. Because I think it's a really good solution and a good
Amazon.
tool.
Amazon would be amazing.
I've got to try to do. I've got to figure out how to go about doing that.
So now they could buy the book at Oliver. What is the website?
It's www.oliverthebear.com.
Oliverthebear.com. And you can buy the book on there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see Thumb Sucking Help, Stranger Danger, About the Author, Testimonial Links. Okay, buy now. Nice. Australian orders, international orders. Yeah, I think that's an amazing deal. Would you want to read the book? Do these dentists as they're listening, or would you rather not do that?
It's a little bit long. Look, the story, the way I've done it, the way I presented it was when I was a kid, I really liked the idea of having a storybook that you could actually, in class the teacher would read and they'd hold up the picture, and I always had fond memories of that. So, and I felt like with kids between about 3 and 6, because you're going to have varying levels, I think the parent can read through the story and they can sort of abbreviate it or add their little thing depending on the child. They use this as a basis, they use the pictures as a bit of a guide, and they sort of walk their way through Oliver's story. And basically Oliver's story is, as I said, he's thumb sucking, he enjoys his thumb sucking, he decides he got teased, decides I've had enough of this teasing, and his parents say, look, it's okay if you thumb suck, but if you want to stop, it's up to you, because you're only a baby bear. But if you want to become a big bear, you can sort of stop when you're ready. And Oliver gets up one day and just says, I'm ready. And his mum kept reading him stories about this dragon that lived in the woods, and he decided that this dragon was going to help him with his thumb sucking because he had a hard time stopping it.
A dragon, and your name is Dragan.
Purely coincidence, we're not related.
So is your name Dragan after a dragon, or is that a family
it's actually
name?
it's Croatian, and you pronounce it Dragan. And really, in Croatia, if you look at the meaning, it sort of means sort of dear one, like Dragan. And so Dragan, when I came to Australia, I was 6 when I came here, and they looked at the spelling, and it's spelt sort of like dragon, and everyone sort of just said it was dragon. I didn't know any different, and so through my whole schooling and through it just became Dragan, and it's had its pros and cons.
So was it cool being a little kid being named after a dragon, or was it negative?
No, I think in the end it was pretty cool, because also with my kids now being actually older, it was cool as a kid, but even my kids being older now, if they have their boyfriends come over and stuff, and my daughters tell them that the father's name is Dragan, I feel I have much more credibility, and I just put on a serious face, and I feel I've got more control, I think. Yeah.
So your name Dragan, and the fact that the little Oliver goes out and meets a dragon, was just pure coincidence.
Yeah, it was coincidence. When I was a kid, I really liked I liked fantasy, and you love the whole idea of trolls and dragons and witches and things like that. Just fun storybooks. Even now, really, one of my favorite movies is Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite movies. I sort of like that mystical sort of stuff.
Filmed right next door here in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was.
In the Southern Island?
Yeah, it's one of my daughter's favourite movies as well. We've been up there and done the tour, and it's it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Auckland, New Zealand. I mean, that was long before Lord of the Rings, and I completely was well aware that, man, that is a special...
It's a special place.
It's a special place because it's... The plants and I mean, that's just something I've never seen in North America.
Oh, well, we went to Queenstown, and Queenstown is just amazing. It's like a couple of times I have to get out of the car and look at the place and go, is this even real? Like, it looks fantasy. You look at it and you think, man, what is this? This is just crazy. They won't believe this if I take a photo. They think I photoshopped it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Is. And what's really interesting is when you... have really been around the United States a lot. I mean, you just see so many plants and sceneries that, I mean, you're just not in Kansas anymore. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just all these little things with trees and plants. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's really a beautiful area.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And also my dentist friends that are snow skiing freaks. When it's the summer in North America, it's the winter down here.
Yeah.
That's where they like to ski in the winter. In the summers, they like to ski in New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand, I've done that. Plus, from Australia, it's a 3-hour flight. It's probably cheaper to fly to New Zealand than it is to fly to Queensland. And flying into Queenstown is like one of the most amazing, flying in through the mountains and landing in that town is just incredible, and there's so much to do. Like, I play a bit of golf. There's just got beautiful golf courses there. They got the skiing. They got rock climbing. They got cycling. They got bungee jumping. It's just a playground. So it's a terrific place.
And the world is so funny because sometimes I'll be talking to one of my friends. I'll say, "So what are you doing next weekend?" "Oh, I'm going snow skiing." And it's like you're in Phoenix. It's August. Like what?
Yeah.
But they're going to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a terrific place to go.
So then on your journey, after you wrote The Little Bear Who Sucked His Thumb.
Yep.
And did all the drawings yourself. We'll talk about the drawings. When were you always an artist? Did that have any effect in going into dentistry? Was that part of the book, just getting a place to use your drawing?
I mainly did watercolor drawing, and I hadn't done a lot of sort of like kids drawing type stuff, mainly more street scenes, that type of stuff. So this was a bit of a challenge for me, but I really enjoyed it. I got the kids to sort of it was fun. It gave me something to. It gave me a project to draw, and I just had a lot of fun doing it. It took me a long time. I did it. I drew it in. I sketched them, made the characters, sketched it, then used pastel and watercolor, and then put them on the computer, and then photoshopped it, to enhance the color and this type of stuff. So it was so different to what I was normally used to as dentistry. It was a whole new world, and I learned a lot, and I got a lot out of it. It was a lot of fun. And in fact, I had so much fun. I think it was a good idea. I decided to expand it and thought these two characters, Oliver the bear and the dragon, I thought being good friends was sort of a quirky combination, like an odd couple, and I thought I could really sort of create sort of books that would help kids using these two characters as reference that the kids could relate to. And I really wanted to do a bit more drawing and sketching. So I did the Stranger Danger because I thought that was a really, I think that's a really important thing for kids to
So go into that. What is Little Bear Beware? Stranger. What is Stranger Danger?
I wanted kids like with this. I made up a story, and I suppose the idea of the book was to Oliver was playing hide and seek, and he was hiding, and someone called out to him, and the character that called out to him turned out to be a witch, but he didn't know that, and she asked him for help, which he thought, yeah, I'll help, and the witch got Oliver to get him turnips and potatoes and everything, and while he was doing all this, she was making a big cauldron and lighting a fire, and she told him that, look, if he hides in the cauldron, that's the best hiding spot, and his friend will never find him if he hides in this cauldron there, and he should jump in. And I suppose the premise of that was, kids often get lured by strangers into cars and different places like that, and people that don't know. So this witch had put Oliver in the cauldron, sort of saying, look, your friend will never find you in there. And then when Oliver got a bit suspicious and sort of popped his head out of the cauldron, the witch was sort of quite happily dancing around and making little bear soup. That was her aim. He was going to come to a grisly end.
A grisly end?
Yes.
As in grizzly bear?
As grizzly bear. And then he told her that his friend had found him, and his friend won't like this. And she thought, this is great. I'll get two bears in there. I'll have an extra nice soup. And she turns around, and his friend turns out to be this humongous dragon. And the witch all of a sudden changes the tones and makes a run for it. And I suppose the message there, and what the message the dragon tells to Oliver, is the fact that, look, you've got to help people, but not everyone is nice and friendly, and you just have to be aware of that and not allow people to, potentially to fool you into doing things you don't want to do and things like that. So I thought, again, the story was non-threatening. It was a serious message, but it's done in a very fun way. And I think with kids, hopefully they'll enjoy the characters. And again, it's not directed at them, or you're not trying to preach to them. It's just a story that the kids will sort of hear, and hopefully subconsciously will take the message in, take a positive message out of it. Yeah.
So if they go to your website, which is oliverthebear.com.
Yeah.
So that's nice. You got a .com. It's not .com.au.
No.
Nice. A lot of Australian websites I've looked at, they're .com.au.
Yeah.
But if you go to just the .com,
yeah,
you actually go to their competitors.
Okay.
And it's like I think these foreign countries should get the .com. I think that's very wise. You get the .com. So how much, if they go to their website, buy now, how much are these books?
Well, with the Little Bear Who Sucked His Thumb book, normally what people can do is they put the child's name on there, and what we do is we print out a chart with little where they can and we give them a little bag of gold stars that they can stick onto the chart. And it's a bit like the story where the dragon tells Oliver to do this, and so every time Oliver doesn't suck his thumb for a day, he just takes a star out and he puts it on the chart, and the dragon promises him that if he fills the chart with gold stars, then the dragon will come back to see him. And in fact, that's what happens. And again, from a parenting perspective, it was if the child manages to fill out the chart up by not sucking his thumb, then the parent will give him a present, or buy something, maybe a little bear or something, a little stuffed dragon or something, I don't know. And it's up to the parent to sort of decide, how they can reward the child. And it becomes a game. It becomes something fun that both parent and child can do and look forward to. So
that is so cool.
Yeah.
And how many stars? How many gold stars?
We usually give them a little bag of stars. So there might be maybe 16 stars and something like that. But the parent can either get the child to make up their own chart if they want, make it a creative thing, just get them interested in it. So I think it's like an indirect way to make it fun. And, if they have to buy a few more stickers somewhere or they can tick it off or, it's up to the parent's discretion how they best want to do that.
I would also put these on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean Amazon, do you know Jeff Bezos is now the richest man?
Yeah.
In the United States, last week he bumped off Bill Gates.
Okay.
Amazon stock went up, Microsoft went down,
Yeah.
but Bezos, the largest retailer is Walmart, then Costco, then Kroger, then Amazon.
Okay.
And Amazon is, my gosh, I mean, there's just so many people on that site. Are you on Amazon?
I'm not. I've got to look into that whole side of things, how to get that out there, and I'm not. And maybe my kids will know a little bit more about how to do that whole back end thing and getting on there and stuff, because I've got no idea.
It's just so huge, and a lot of it's just because of convenience. Like when you go to most of these websites, you would have to enter your credit card and all that. But with Amazon, once you've entered your credit card number, your mailing address one time, then when you go open the Amazon app and you want to buy something, you just hit it and then hit buy, and it's one click. And what's funny is forever I always had my personal assistant. I'd sit there and send her a text. I need this or I need that. Well, now the time it takes me to send her a text or say, can you pick me up this? It's just as easy for me to open up my Amazon, find exactly what I need, hit that one click, and then it's going to be on my porch the next day.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
So I would do the Amazon, and I think you should go to there's 9 specialties, and pediatric dentist is one of the most on Dental Town. I think pediatric dentist is probably the most involved of all the specialties on Dental Town. They're really, really involved on Dental Town.
Yeah.
There are so many amazing pediatric dentists that post daily on Dental Town, and I think they would really like to look in this, because I agree. Even in management, like management will decide, okay, we're in Phoenix and we all need to go to Tucson, or we all need to go to LA. So then you get on inside the bus and start talking to the employees, and most of them have no idea why we're even going to LA, or they don't agree that we should be going to LA. And he didn't tell us if we were going to walk to LA, fly to LA, rent a bus, ride a bicycle. And it's the same thing in a kid's mind. A kid's not going to stop sucking his thumb because you told him to.
No, he's got to make up his own mind.
The kid's got to decide.
Absolutely. That's the whole premise behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole premise. And worst case scenario is, nothing bad has happened. You haven't created further anxiety. You've got your message across, and then it's up to the child to sort of to take it, to take it on board. It's funny. I feel like there's a real need for this. It's such a common thing. But it's been interesting in this exercise. Has been an interesting exercise in learning about marketing and learning about the way people think and things, because it sort of surprised me. I just felt like as a simple kid's storybook, I just felt like it'd be a really good idea for parents to have this, because it's a book. It's interactive. The parent can interact with the child. It's not a big expense. It's not a big outlay. But it's funny. Even with the pediatric within pediatrics, the thumb sucking thing gets a little bit not really much credence. I don't know. It's funny, even though it creates problems, and I'm sure there are people who specialize in it and stuff. But it's such a common problem, and yet. I don't know. I just felt like it would be something that people would embrace more, because to me it seemed like such a good idea, and I think getting people to just become more aware of the problem it's just been a real challenge. It's funny. And we've had sales from all over the world. Because it's a common problem. Like, you have someone in Ireland who'll suck, a little child in Ireland who'll suck their thumb, in the US, and so we've had it from lots of different countries that will buy the book, and we've had some really positive feedback from it, and so I think it's a really good thing for a parent to have for a child. It's almost like a childhood memory too. If you've sucked the thumb, you've got this little book that you can look back on when you're 21. I feel it's a nice little thing for a child to have, you know. And
I had a thumb sucker. Yeah, I had
one of your kids.
Yeah, one of my 4.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually I want to book how to be a thumb sucker because I was always jealous of my kid the second time. I couldn't imagine how cool that would be when you're having a hard day and you're
Absolutely.
Stressed out.
That's
you know,
it.
you might want to come home and eat a bag of chips, or you might want to overeat or have a drink or do something bad. I always wish that I could just come home because you could tell they loved it so much.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was like, it has to be an amazing vice.
Yep.
Because it was so soothing. And right now I have a friend who has a 1-year-old.
Yep.
And she's, it's just amazing how she can be tired, cross, whatever, and she just puts that thumb in there, and it's just
it stops.
Run.
It's just, and
so I'm jealous. I mean, it'd be 0 calorie.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get a DUI from sucking your thumb. You can't get arrested from sucking your thumb.
Exactly.
I mean, it's low cost. I just wish I could learn how to suck my thumb.
Maybe we should do the reverse, and I should write a book about encouraging people to do some thumb sucking to relieve anxiety and stuff.
We'll say, little fat Howard, you don't need to eat any more pie. Just go in the corner and suck your thumb.
Yeah, that's right.
You've done 2.
Yep.
Do you have any other storylines that you're thinking about?
I have other storylines, and I have other storylines, and I wanted to sort of like focus on this a little bit, but in my mind, I've sort of been looking at different things different little things I could do with this, and carrying on with the characters, you know, because as I said, I'm sort of relating to my own experiences. As I said, I like the whole idea of dragons and trolls, and I wanted to introduce a troll. I've had a witch.
Is the troll that doll with the crazy long hair?
Well, I think trolls come in varying different types of trolls.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about, that little troll doll, or?
Yeah, but that's
not
a
little
troll.
Short?
Yeah, no.
So what is a troll?
A troll is sort of like, well, you know, like you see it on the Hobbit. You know, a troll is sort of like a giant sort of like, in my mind, I mean, there is no such thing, but in my mind, it's sort of like, you know, big head, no shoulders, you know, ape-like arms, you know. I've got it already in my mind how this troll would look, and my idea for the third book was the whole thing about not stealing. So it was like, not steal things. And the idea being, again, that, which I haven't done this yet, but the idea being that this the dragon has had an egg and has given its Oliver to mind. And
is that a troll?
That's not the sort of troll I would be looking at.
That's interesting. That reminds me of an old joke I always used to make my mother upset with. Whenever she talked about the 10 Commandments, I would say, "Mom, there's not 10. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods." That's the same thing. Just like thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. That's the same thing. There's a lot of duplicates in the 10 Commandments. But you know,
some things you got to repeat for people to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the 10 Commandments, stealing made it twice. Thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods.
There's got to be a lesson in that.
Yeah, and I also thought something was interesting in stealing. I thought, to me, it always seems like in my 54 laps around the sun that I don't think a kid understands the concept of stealing.
No, absolutely, exactly right.
By 2, I don't think that. I don't think they even know when little Johnny's playing with a toy and you just walk over and take it out of his hand and walk back. They don't know that just.
It's not the right thing to do.
Day.
Absolutely.
So so these are things that need to be taught.
I feel like that's a good way to present it, because as I said, it's not like you're going up to little Johnny and ripping that thumb out of his mouth where he's really contented and happy, and they're thinking, what is he doing with that? And that just creates anxiety. Same thing with a stranger danger. If you're sort of lecturing, I think it's hard to lecture to a young kid. You know, like, is that the way to get a message across? And with stealing, again, if you just say, oh, you know, don't take that from little, you know, give it back to him, and making it a sort of a power struggle, I feel is not a good way to deliver the message, you know. So through a kid's story, I feel like it's a very indirect way, and it's almost subliminal, you know, like, and you know, if they enjoy the story, which they would, because I think kids with, as I said, with little bears, you know, dragons, trolls, fairies, you know, witches, all those type of characters, I think it just stimulates the imagination. I think kids have great imagination.
Would it be the Tooth Fairy?
Well, I haven't. Maybe that could be book 4.
Book 4. I think the stealing's great because at 2, not only do they not understand stealing, they don't even understand the concept of sharing.
No, absolutely.
And the other thing that I like the most about this book is not only is it a quality hard book. I mean, these are the type of feel and texture.
Yeah.
But what I thought was so interesting is I've never had a children's book that was read one time.
Yeah.
They would always come back.
Yeah.
And they it was kind of interesting with Raising Mindful Race because if they liked a Disney movie, they didn't watch it once or twice. They watched it 25 times.
Mate, I could, if you wanted to have a little sing along about the Little Mermaid sing along, we could just about sing along through the whole. Oh
my God!
Through the whole
my
thing.
granddaughter Taylor. How many times has Taylor watched the movie Frozen?
Enough.
Ryan says enough. And I mean, so when they like a little book like this, that was on Sucking Your Thumb, Danger Stranger. A book with a lesson. Yeah. I mean, I imagine you'll read it to him at least 25 times.
That's the thing.
Wouldn't you guess?
That's the plan. You know, that's the plan. And again, it's not actually directed at them, but because it's funny because when you're reading something, even if you as an adult, if you're a golfer, you love watching the golf because you can relate to it. It's like something that they do and something that you do, and you're looking to find things, you know. And I think same with kids. I mean, with kids, if you've got a little bear that's sucking his thumb, there's a connection there because it's like this little bear is actually sucking his thumb like I am. And it's like, oh, okay. And what's happening to this little bear? But it's not. No one's telling you what to do. You're just listening. You're just reading, or having this book read to you is telling you a story about a little bear who's got a similar habit to what you've got, and so it's not directly telling the child. And if you deliver a positive message numerous times, they'll enjoy the story more because they can relate to it. And as I say, if the parent buys them a little bear, or with a chart, or with the gold stickers, it sort of uses their imagination, and they can use their imagination. It takes them into the story, and I think that message is much more likely to then be a positive thing, you know, in terms of trying to break the habit. It's not a habit that's a problem till about 2 years of age. Like they can be sucking their thumb from 1 to 2 years, even 2.5, 3 years is fine. It's usually when the permanent teeth come through, but between 3 and 6. I think if they've still got that thumb sucking habit going, it's going to be hard for them to give that up. A lot of kids will give up after 2, but a percentage will just love it too much, and they're just not going to give it up. So it becomes can become a bit of a battle.
And also the devil's in the details. Like some kids, they barely suck their thumb. Some kids aggressively suck their thumb.
Yep.
When they get to 2 fingers,
yeah.
But the worst is when they flip it upside down.
Yep.
And they're sucking on 2 fingers while their arm is going forward.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I've seen nightmares with 2 fingers upside down. And
absolutely.
They're just pulling their max out.
Absolutely.
So the devil's in the details. So there's a lot of great averages, but some kids, I mean, when they're sucking their thumb, you can hear it in the next room.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's some serious sort of pressure sort of vacuum being formed there, and it will distort. The beauty of it is if you can get the child to stop sucking before their permanent teeth come through, then usually any problems that they've done developmentally, whether it be with the teeth or all that, will self-correct. But if they're still sucking while their permanent teeth are coming through, then you've got to create a problem.
Now the binky is an easy solution because all you got to do with the binky is take out a pair of scissors and cut it. So when it's a sealed binky, they can suck on it.
Yeah.
But when you take a little scissors and snip out that, and they go to suck, it's a straw now.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of days, you can take off another millimeter.
Yeah.
So it's no more sucking; it's a straw.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I've seen it where it's finally so short, she tries to suck on it, then she just throws on the floor and walks away.
Absolutely.
So the binky, you can.
Yeah, you can do. Look, the way I think, as I said, the first step to this to me seemed from just a logic perspective is the child needs to be on board. They need to want to actually do this, and that doesn't make it easy. And I often will, parents will write to me and I'll say, look, don't expect them to just, once they've decided they're going to try, you've got to go easy with this. Get them to maybe not suck for a couple of hours, say, sort of a couple of hours watching a television program or something they enjoy watching, or a movie or something. Can you do it throughout, not do it through the movie, and then after that you can suck again, and sort of try, depending on the child, you can sort of ease them into, stopping for a little bit, just get them into that. And kids are going to react differently. Some kids can do it really positively. Other kids really struggle. And
did you do anything at nighttime? Like sometimes with mine, I would go in there and pull his thumb out of his mouth and he's sleeping, and then I put a sock over his thumb.
Yeah, see, that's again.
Did you ever try that?
Well, in the book, what we suggest is what Oliver does, and what the Dragon suggests to him is as a reminder, because Oliver found in the book that he just kept on putting his thumb there, and he wasn't even aware that he was doing it. It was like just a subconscious thing. So the Dragon sort of told him to wrap a Band-Aid around his thumb, and that was a reminder. So so that was the thing. It was like a Band-Aid there. But realistically, if parents want to make a little sock or something and incorporate that into their program, and make little faces on it and make it a fun thing for the child to do, then that's okay too. I think that's just up to the parent in terms of how they want to do it. Once the child has decided, hey mum, I'm ready to do this, or can we give this a try, and if the parent is encouraging and happy and it doesn't become a power struggle, I think it become a positive thing, Yeah.
So how long is a project, like I'm looking at your website, like how long of a project was something like this?
Well, it's fun. I did it about, it took me about a year to actually, in between other stuff, because there's a lot of other things that I do as well, outside of dentistry as well, and with this sort of stuff I have a lot of different things that I do. So it took me about a year to do this, and that was sort of fun. I initially was really, committed, did the website and everything, and then that was probably about 10 years ago, and then I sort of like, I let it lapse a little bit, other things, life got in the way, and different things, and this was just a side thing that I did, because it was fun, and Ellen was starting to get older now, and but recently I thought I think it's still relevant, and I thought I'd just try to, how could I say, do not a remake a movie, but try to get it back in there, because I think it's still equally as relevant, and
it's going to be relevant in a million years.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
There's so many things that aren't going to change. Everybody talks about technology as we go from telegraph to telephone to internet, but like sleeping in a bed, having shelter, eating breakfast, having babies, sucking your thumb.
Absolutely.
Those things have been going on for 2 million years.
It has.
They're not going to change in the next 2 million years.
And I figure, and I think the solution is still, this is still always a good option for parents. And now they got the Facebook and a lot of other ways that I can use to actually get the message out there, which wasn't around probably even 10 years ago. So I figured with a lot of the social media and everything that was happening, I thought, well, this is a good opportunity just to put this out there again, because I think it's a very useful resource.
Well, my social media advice is Dentaltown's free, Twitter's free, LinkedIn's free, but when you start building up Facebook, the bigger your Facebook page gets, you're always going to have to buy Facebook ads and boost your posts. But the current president of the United States is only president because he built up a 20, 30 million, now 50 million Twitter following. So that guy can send out a tweet sitting on a toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning, and 50 million people will read it. And when you build up, so I put a link to Twitter. Because on Twitter, every time you put out a tweet, if you build up 1,000 followers and you tweet, all 1,000 go there. I got 21,000 followers. I sent a tweet, all 21,000 get it instantly. But on Facebook, you're always going to be given money. It's always money. It's always money. If you had 1,000 people following on Facebook and you made a post, they're not going to show that to all 1,000. They're going to show them sponsored ads, sponsored content. And if you want your own followers to see your own ad, you're going to have to pay them money. So Dentaltown, you can post it for free. There's 250,000 on here. I thought doing this podcast was great.
I really appreciate that. It's been terrific.
The honor's all mine that you were so dedicated. I mean, what a hell of a dad to have a.
We had fun.
And you know what's gonna be really, how cool is it if you have 2 daughters, if someday they each have a couple kids and one of them is a thumb sucker, and your own daughter's reading, and like I say, and it might even be your granddaughter reading to her great granddaughter one day, because I guarantee you, 1,000,000 years from today,
There'll be someone thugging the
babies are still going to be sucking their thumb.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just not going to go away.
It's funny because there's my daughters are here actually. This is a little thing. This was when Ellen was about 8. That was back then.
Oh my God, that's you doing the drawing.
That's right.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So it's been fun. Look, whatever. Look,
It was a black and white. Did you do that on purpose?
yeah, I did it on purpose, but that was a while ago. Ellen's about 25 now. When I was sort of doing that, that was when I was sort of making the book.
So you
and
said
stuff.
your name's Croatian. Were you born in Croatia?
Yes.
And how old were you when you came here?
6.
So do you remember Croatia? at all?
We go back there and stuff. Mum and Dad still have a house there, and
Right next to Italy.
Yeah, this well across the Adriatic.
Well, you know what I thought. I lectured in Croatia, Albania, Montenegro. What was amazing about that
Yeah.
is it was Montenegro, Albania, Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro. Anyway, I did a tour around there.
See where Split is?
Yeah.
We're about an hour up from Split on the coast.
But what I thought was the most amazing thing, in fact, I almost didn't want to come back from Croatia or Albania, because if you go along the whole Italy side of the Adriatic Sea, how much money does it cost to get an acre anywhere along the Adriatic Sea on Italy to build a house?
Yeah.
What would that cost?
I'm not sure, but it'd be a lot.
A gazillion dollars. And then you cross the Adriatic Sea, it's just as beautiful. And it's
amazing.
Pennies on the dollar.
There's 1,500 islands along the coast of Croatia, and it's the biggest. I'll tell you what, as far as that real estate thing goes, if you want to get a bargain, you better get in there pretty soon, because it's gone berserk there at the moment. On the coastline,
well, it has to go berserk, because why would you spend a gazillion dollars on the Italian side when you could cross the Adriatic Sea? And Albania was this, like, I lectured in Tirana, and do you pronounce it Tirana? Or
I've never been to
Tirana?
Albania. That would be an interesting place. It's
I
almost
liked Skopje very much. That's where Mother Teresa was born, and I went to see Mother Teresa's birthplace. I thought that was
that's cool.
Very interesting. But but the whole thing in Albania, I was telling all those dentists there, I said, especially the young ones just got out of school, I said, kids, look, when you're my age, all this beachfront property is going to be millions of dollars. I mean,
crazy.
it's flipping gorgeous.
Yeah.
And Croatia is really cool. And I got to tell you my other story. So I have some friends they were from Serbia.
Yeah.
And they came to Alwatuki, and they opened up a restaurant. Well, Americans don't know what Serbian food is.
Yeah.
And Italian food to Serbian food, I mean, it's just a slight kind of difference around there.
Yeah.
And so they opened up an Italian restaurant, and it's been extremely successful, because what the Americans don't realize is that, well, it's not your traditional Italian food. It's slightly different.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's really Serbian food.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the thing about Serbian and Croatian food is you don't want to be a vegetarian necessarily, because they're big into meat and lamb and pork and that type of stuff. The whole spit thing, and I think pretty expert in preparing a steak. I think.
Yeah.
So that's their thing. That's their thing. And my wife's actually, ironically, is Australian, and it's that joke, like when we're going out, and she's a vegetarian of all things, like going out with a Croatian, and she's vegetarian, and Mum just completely didn't know how to handle that. It's like whenever Leslie came there, it was like, okay, so no meat, so a couple of eggs. It's like, I think Leslie just had so many fried eggs that it was just ridiculous, because I think Mum didn't realise there was such a thing as you only eat lettuce, or that's her idea of a vegetarian. So yeah.
I'm actually a vegetarian too.
Oh, really? There you go. My wife's a vegetarian.
I only eat animals that only eat vegetables.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. I'm a once removed vegetarian. The other thing I thought was very interesting, that you were born in Croatia. Today I asked the audience in Melbourne, raise your hand if you're a dentist and you weren't born in Australia. Almost all the hands went up.
Yeah. Oh, Australia's.
I mean, we're talking 85 to 90% of all the hands went up. And this is why this is such an amazing country.
It's a changing landscape.
And it's why America's secret sauce was 500 years of immigration.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. Well, you always have where even countries with a lot of immigration are always against immigration.
Yeah.
And it's so unsettling at the time. I remember when I was a little kid, it was the boatloads of Cuban people coming. It's always some group coming.
Yeah.
And everybody's mad at that day.
Yeah.
But then 20 years later, all those immigrants built another rich, robust country.
It is.
And the one thing I have to say about lecturing in so many countries, that the countries where you go to that country and they're like 98.5% of all the people are the same people.
Yeah.
Those just aren't the fun places to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like the really robust, fun places to go to, a third of their country is immigrants.
Yeah.
But, if you go to some countries, 98.5% of all their people are this.
Yeah.
And 98.5% of these people are that.
Yeah.
And man, the immigration really makes for robust culture, sounds, music, restaurants,
Absolutely.
books, arts,
Well, it's
museums.
interesting. I think that the interesting thing for me is I think that people, when you look at people, I find myself lucky in the sense that being born in Croatia and having a Croatian background and understanding the culture and stuff, and then coming here to Australia, which is a different type of culture. What I recognise with my family in Croatia and my friends and things in Australia is that the basic core values of people are basically the same. Basically, realistically, I think you could be in Afghanistan. If you asked an Afghan about his kids, he'd want the best for his kids, and he wanted to put food on their table, and basically the core values are all basically the same. People are people; they all sort of want the same thing, really, for their family and all that sort of stuff. I don't think that changes, but culturally, you get these interesting little differences. Like Croatians are different to Australians; they just are. They're the same people; they're the same core values, but culturally they got that little bit different, which makes it really interesting. Because I'm sure when I have a Chinese friend, or if I have an Italian friend, I find it really interesting because we have a common bond, but there's that little bit of quirkiness that he sees in me and I see in him. So that makes for, I think that does make it really interesting.
Yeah, I all the people, they're all the same.
Yeah.
99% of all of them are all good. They're all trying hard.
Yeah.
Their family's most important.
That's the thing.
They're all trying to do the right thing. But what I love the most about it is it doesn't, when you go to all these different countries, take something simple like a toilet. They all need the same function, but they're all slightly different.
That's
a window.
That's what I mean.
A door.
Yeah.
And I really love it in dentistry because so much, when you live in one country and you live in one tribe, like in America, you think, well, no one will have it done unless they don't have insurance. And, and then you go around the world and it's like only 10% of the countries have dental insurance. 90% of the countries have to buy their dentistry like an iPhone.
Yeah.
You look at all the slightly different thoughts when we're all dealing with the same human, the same toothache, the same cavity.
Yeah.
And you go within a tribe, and they've all drank the purple Kool-Aid, and they all say, no, this is only the way it is. Then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, why is it not that way in all of Japan?
Yeah.
Why do the Germans not agree? I mean, they make nicer cars than the Americans. I love it when they disagree with the Americans. There's one thing if you disagree with a country that doesn't make a car, but when they start disagreeing with Germans who make the Mercedes and the Volvo and the Porsche, you start starting yourself, really?
Yeah.
The Germans got it all wrong?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
But you got it right here in Kansas.
That's right. Well, the Germans have switched on people. Well, you look at it's interesting. This is not off the topic of this, but it's like I did a bit of reading on von Braun, and it was the irony is that he's a guy who, at one point, with the Americans and stuff, this was their mortal enemy, and he's shooting all these V2 rockets and things and rocket technology, and he wasn't that old, in his 20s, and next thing you know, after the war, he's gone to America, and he's become head of their space. Like the German really is the guy who he really pioneered their space program. That he was, and the Russians were, it's sort of bizarre, really the way the world works. Like he's over there, and the next thing you know, like he's Hitler's right-hand man, sort of, trying to win the war for the Germans, and next thing you know, he's in the Americans, and he's trying to win the space race for the Americans, and it's the world is a funny place.
Yeah, and World War II really elevated Australia because so many Jewish people ran out of Germany.
Yeah.
And so many of them came to Australia, bringing so many factories and technologies.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember after 20 years after World War II, the top 10 biggest companies in Australia were Jewish owned.
Yeah.
And some of the I mean, they took so much brain talent and money and expertise, and then at the end of the war was the most amazing thing. I never forget the first time I went to Brazil. I mean, as the war was winding down in Germany and Japan, all those guys making all those tanks and jeeps and all those factories, they knew they were all going to be killed.
Yeah.
So as they were losing the war, they all ran and hid. So where did they go? They went from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere and went and hid in Brazil. Yeah. And then after World War II, all of a sudden now Brazil's making planes and trains and automobiles and motorcycles. And I'll never forget the first time I went to Sao Paulo, So here's Brazil, and it all looks like Brazil. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're in the middle of Tokyo. Yeah. And it's all Japanese stuff and all these factories. And then you leave that section, now you're in the middle of Berlin, Germany.
Wow, how does that must do your head in.
And it's all these Germans, and your Taiwanese dentists say, well, God, why is there a little Tokyo and a little Germany in the middle of Sao Paulo, which is the biggest industrial output? And they go, dude, these are all the people that fled Germany and Japan after World War II.
Well, that's the thing, like as I said, my parents came over here from Croatia really after it wasn't so much after the war so much, but it was in the early 70s, and it was just for a better life, like a lot of Italians, a lot of Jewish people, and it's it's been a really positive thing, and now we're the next generation. Although I feel we've been a bit of an easy generation. Like my daughter is OT, and she works at Vinnie Monash, which is like an aged care facility for Jewish people, and she's got some of the stories that she's heard is just mind blowing. She's actually bought a little leather bound book, and so when the residents have told her a story, she's actually written down all the pearls of wisdom of these people. She thought some of the stories they've been telling her and some of the life's little tidbits, she thought, man, I've got to write this down. So she's been writing down this little leather-bound book with these, and I think those sort of experiences is not something that my generation knows anything about,
Well, so much of the greatest music and the greatest stories and greatest wisdom comes from pain.
No, exactly.
And sometimes it takes even with artists, I know I was listening to this one artist talking about he had last 5 albums, and 2 of them crushed it and 3 of them didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And he said that the 2 that crushed it, he is going through a divorce. He was at rock bottom. Yeah. So he wrote 2 of the greatest album. The greatest album ever written, really, in my opinion, was Rumors.
Oh, okay. So I was listening to that yesterday.
And remember what Rumors is about is they had 5 people in the band, and it was 2 couples that were married in Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. And the 2 couples were going through a divorce. But Fleetwood Mac was holding the band together. They go, dude, we're doing another album. We rented the studio. So they bring in 2 couples that are going through a divorce. Yep. And the pain was so intense. Yep. And the lyrics, no one quite meant what you were saying, but they assumed you were digging him and he was digging her, so it was all called Rumors. And that was the greatest album ever.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that. I think really in that some of the stories my grandparents told me during the Second World War was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and it's funny, on a side note, my grandmother, I was talking to her when she was alive, and she was saying, and I was asking her about Croatia in this little town. We live in a little town on the coast, the Adriatic coast, and my grandmother was at that point. The culture was that if you married, you live with the husband, like with the in-laws. You would live together in the same house. My grandmother married my grandfather, and then they would live with my grandfather. But he had 5 brothers, which were all married. So, in the little village there was no running water or anything. There was a room that was about 3 meters by 3 meters, another room about 3 meters in a stable, and they had 22 people living in this place. And they used to go to there was like a stable, and the married couple would share the stable as a bit of privacy, they'd swap nights as a bit of privacy, and they'd have was like a hail. There's no mattresses or anything, and it was like really, food was. And I said to her, I said, what was that like? Like that would have been terrible. Like there was no running water, there was no electricity, there was no anything. You're crowded, in this situation. And I said to her, what was that like? And you know what she said to me? She said, greatest time of my whole life. She said, it was the best time in her life. It's hard for us, for my generation, to even relate to that. But I think in that adversity, I think there was a lot of human traits, a lot of positive human traits came out, and the whole concept of family and supporting people, and going out, and you're not worried about the economy, you're not worried about anything. It's all about just day to day, interacting with people, interacting with family, interacting with your neighbours. Just things are stripped down to their bare basics. And she said, best time of her life, which is sort of, I thought was really interesting.
It is really strange. I mean, it's a hard time for my kids to realize, like, I'm 54. That's half a century. When I was little, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, but the grandparents were in Parsons, Kansas, 3 hours up the road from Wichita, and one of them still had an outhouse.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, times have really, really changed rapidly.
Yeah. So your background would have been interesting, Howard. Like, I know this is not sort of this thing, but I'm assuming this is our, but what was your story? You went to uni and
went to what?
You went to university, decided to do dentistry. Why did you do dentistry?
My dad owned a restaurant in Sonic Drive-In and made hamburgers and French fries and onion rings.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to follow him into that.
Yeah.
And my next door neighbor was a dentist named Kenny Anderson.
Okay.
And I'd go to work with him, and he would take x-rays and look through these teeth and do root canals and crowns.
Yeah.
And I just kept telling my dad wanted me to drop out of high school and open a Sonic Drive-In, and he just thought that would just be amazing. And he was very mad when I told him I wasn't going to drop out of high school and I was going to go to college.
Yeah. And
became a dentist, and he just thought that was the stupidest, dumbest, craziest idea. Loved my dad to death, but I just couldn't make cheeseburgers my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a hamburger, French fries, and an onion ring in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought a root canal would be far more challenging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love your passion. This is not going to go away. These kids are going to read this book 30, 50, 100 times. It'll be really cool if your daughters, one of them has a thumb sucker and is reading Grandpa's book. What I would recommend is on your website.
Yeah.
Get you can do a Facebook. That'd be good, but Twitter's better.
Okay.
And then sell it also on Amazon.
Okay. I'll find out how to get onto that.
Start a thread on Dental Town. And if you're worried that people are going to think, oh, well, you're commercially selling your book. You can start a thread, just say, Howard encouraged me to do this.
Yeah.
And then when this podcast comes out, Ryan will post that in this thread in Pediatric Dentistry. And again, I like your concept that the child has to decide. And if they don't decide the first time they read the book, they'll read it 10, 20, 30, 40 times. And eventually,
something will sink in.
Hopefully they'll stop sucking their thumb.
That's the plan.
Before they start rearranging their upper jaw.
That's the plan.
So thanks so much.
Thank you, Howard.